thank you so much, viewers, for sticking with us on the morning cruise right here on Value Chain TV. That was the commodity market table. Prices are still the way they are, but then we still hope they crash down.
We hope they crash
We
down.
really hope they crash
With the
down.
palliatives. I think things
Are you really putting your mind on the palliatives? Because I'm not.
I am.
No, I'm not. If it comes good, if it doesn't, fine. But my own, my prayer and my hope is it gets to the right people, the people that are really in need of the palliatives, and not just some people, keeping it for their own selfish interest, trying to use it for the next coming election. It will surprise you that some persons will hoard those palliatives. Okay, viewers, let's go on a short break. We'll be back shortly.
Agriculture is not in one ministry. So when you have a minister of agriculture, you expect to have food security. Yeah, that's half of the story.
Who is responsible for the accumulated emissions in the atmosphere?
So all you need to do is to develop those kind of strategies. Bring back the strategic reserves so that when you produce rice, you produce millet, you store them in that certain climate.
Welcome back from the break, and if you're just joining us, this is the Morning Cruise on Value Chain TV. I was still in the studios giving you lots of educative and insightful segments on the program. So next we have energy transition. So Mr. Omar, you had this very insightful interview with one of your guests,
Omar Farouq Ibrahim.
Dr. Omar Farouq Ibrahim, and it was all about energy. Can you just give us an insight of the major highlight of that interview?
See, the interview centered around this new paradigm shift of energy transition.
Okay.
Transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. There is this campaign about climate change.
Yes.
That we should reduce the use of fuels that contribute to the degradation of the ozone layer. So because of this, some governments and organizations have been championing this cause that we should try as people, as nations, and as organizations to migrate from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And this did not go down well with some people, especially OPEC members and people that happen to come from countries that have petrol deposits.
Okay.
And people think that because the West have developed industrially, so they don't care about what they are more concerned about is energy security. Where can we get this energy? Because the fuel that they rely on, they don't have. They get them majorly from countries that are not friendly. So because of that, they say, okay, let us now migrate from these fossil fuels to renewable energy so that we can have that security. We can have it at our own time when we want it, the way we want it. So with this, it was a very incisive and thought-provoking interview. And Nigerians and our viewers will learn a lot from this clip that we showed.
That's beautiful. And then the renewable energy is the new Nigeria. So of course everybody is really, everybody's eyes are on the renewable energy. So let's take a look and also enjoy this insightful interview.
We have as our guest today the former managing director of New Nigerian Newspapers, who is also former group general manager, public affairs division of NNPC, former governor representing Nigeria at the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and now Secretary General, African Petroleum Producers Organization, in the person of Dr. Omar Farouq Ibrahim. Doctor, you are welcome to our program.
Thank you.
My co-host is Yenge Ikia, editor, Value Chain Magazine. And I am your host, Omar Isabun. Doctor, what is Apple? African Petroleum Producers Organization. What does it stand for and what are its cardinal objectives?
APO is an intergovernmental energy organization established 36 years ago in Lagos, Nigeria, by 8 oil and gas producing African countries, with the objective of bringing these countries together to see if they can work on promoting the industry and in terms of policies and the operations of the oil and gas industry. And for nearly 32 years, African countries that were part of APO were really try to run it as it was an association. Actually, it started as an association, and there wasn't that much integration. I attribute this to the typical African state mentality that, look, we have just come out of colonialism and we don't want to let any country or anybody deprive us of our sovereignty. So there was that concern about, look, we don't want to let go of what is our power or our independence. But with the global paradigm shift away from fossil fuels to renewable energies, it dawned on these countries that, look, if you don't come together and let go some powers in order to be able to move forward together, you are going to be the worst hit, because these are countries that rely heavily on oil and gas revenues to do basically everything: education, health, infrastructure, etc. And if they are to go solo, that is, if each country is on its own to try to find solution to the challenges that the global paradigm shift away from fossil fuels to renewable energies, which is euphemistically called the energy transition, if they are to try to find solutions by themselves, say like Nigeria, Algeria, and Angola, they wouldn't be able to do it. Because in the 70 to 90 years that African countries have been producing oil and gas, we have become too dependent on the developed countries for funding of the industry, for the technology of the industry, for expertise in the industry, and even for markets. That is why, for example, we produce 7 to 8 million barrels of oil a day, and 75% is exported as crude oil, and we can only refine 25%. And we import, ironically, from the very places that we export this crude oil to. Now, with the energy transition and realizing that we are not prepared for it because we don't have what it takes to move as fast as the world wants us to move to, and the fact that we have over 125 billion barrels of proven crude reserves on the African continent and over 600 trillion cubic feet of gas. To tap and bring out these resources, you need funds, you need technology, you need expertise, you need market. And we realize that if we come together to work as a continent, finance will not be a problem, technology will not be a problem, and market will definitely not be a problem, because we are the poorest region when it comes to energy access.
And we are the most endowed, so to say.
Correct.
So what is responsible for this dichotomy?
I think it's leadership, lack of focus, and the structure. When oil and gas were discovered, the search for oil and gas was not done because Africa needed it. No, some people needed it. They came, they searched, they found it, and the structure of the oil and gas economy in Africa is export oriented. It's like when we're producing cocoa and groundnut, it's not meant for you. It's normally called cash crops. Produce it and ship it to those who need it, while you need it, no, you can't get it. The same thing with the oil and gas. That is why if you go to almost all the countries on the African continent that produce oil and gas, you'll find that they produce oil in a field. They have pipelines taking the oil to the sea in order to ship it out. And it passes through many cities and many villages. They don't have oil, they don't have light, they don't have energy, but it's not meant for them.
Okay, Doctor, this takes us to the question of justice with respect to energy production and consumption, especially within the context of energy transition. How just are the energy transition targets with respect to Africa and APRA as an organization?
Look, people talk about energy transition or just energy transition. Implicit in the quest or demand for a just energy transition is acceptance that look, the whole framework of the current energy transition is unequal, is built on inequality. That some countries have gone very far, they have all the energy they need. We are just about getting into this, but we still have a lot of our people. In Africa, we have about 600 million Africans who do not have access to electricity. 900 million do not have access to any form of modern energy out of 1.4 billion. And you tell us to abandon fossil fuels because it is harmful to the environment. We are asking that, look, yes, fossil fuels, we haven't done a research, but because we haven't done a research on that, we are not contesting what they are saying. But granted, fossil fuels are responsible for this. Who caused it? It's not today's production. It's a production and consumption of fossil fuels over a period of 170 years. From the Industrial Revolution, when they began to use fossil crude oil, then to gas. Of course, coal preceded that one. But today, nobody's talking more about it. They were just targeting oil and gas. So what we are saying is, who is responsible for the accumulated emissions in the atmosphere? If the whole atmosphere is a common patrimony for everybody living in it, mankind, animals, birds, etc., and a group among those living in that patrimony decide to exploit it, and in so doing destroy it, and in so doing make their own life better, and then you come back and tell us it is dangerous. Okay, let's remedy it. We ask that you pay reparation for the destruction of what we call the common patrimony of all of us. Because by destroying that atmosphere, you have denied me my own right to a clean environment. But nobody's talking about that today. They're saying everybody should stop because it is dangerous to mankind. Yes, it's dangerous. But who caused it? And more importantly, we ask for reparation because we believe that they have the means to do the reparation. If they want to produce the technology that will not only end current or reduce drastically current emissions, but also even extract what already exists in the atmosphere, they can do it. All we are saying is, look, extract from the mess that you have created. If you bring it down, the world will be better, without asking us not to. We produce, they claim 3%. We have about 20% of the world population. What justice is there? You understand? So even if we double our oil and gas consumption, we will only go to 6%. But that 6% will dramatically change the quality of life of our African people.
You make two important points here. One, on reparation of the damage caused over the years by fossil fuels, and of course those who used it to develop themselves. That is the Western world. And then you also spoke about a clean technology that can be able to decarbonize the world and make it safer while we continue using fossil fuels. It tells us that there was a Saudi Arabian personality who put forward money, about $1 billion, for anybody who could bring an innovation that could solve such a problem, a technology that can clean or decarbonize fuels, fossil fuels, and that nobody jumped at it to provide that technology. What could be responsible for such positions?
The reason is simply a question of energy security for Europe and America. Because throughout the 19th century and 20th century, up to the last quarter of the 20th century, Europe and America had believed that their life was going to continue to be good because there is abundant energy coming from everywhere. And all of a sudden, during the Arab-Israeli war, America and some few European countries decided to support Israel. And the Arabs came together and said, okay, they have embargoed oil supply or oil sales to these countries. And for the first time in the history of these countries, they were rationing fossil fuels. I mean, petroleum, PMS. And for the first time, they realized that all this while, they were just depending on some unreliable source for their good living. Because without energy, they can't live the kind of lives they were living. It was at that point that they resolved that they cannot rely on foreign energy. And they initially tried to see if they can get enough reserves in Europe and America. And that accounts for, look, in 1973, how much was oil price? $3 per barrel, $4. In 1971, it was about $1. By the time this thing happened, the price of oil began to go up. And by 2003, oil price was ranging between 23 and 28. But America was determined to make shale oil competitive. And they manipulated the global oil price until it reached $122 per year in 2008. The idea was, if you force the price of conventional oil, manipulate it to go up, then you are making their oil competitive. Tar sands from Canada and shale oil from. But they did it and realized it didn't work. There is no way shale or tar sand can compete with conventional oil. And conventional oil is located in countries that are seen to be unreliable. The Arab lands, Russia. So if we cannot get it in our lands, then we have to destroy it, because if we, no matter what alternative we bring, this will be much cheaper, and the world will go for what is cheap if it works. We have always argued that if Europe and America were the ones that have been endowed with so much oil and gas, we will not be hearing about energy transition now. What we'll be hearing is technologies are being developed to make oil and gas environmentally clean. And it is possible. But because if we develop that technology, you are empowering your enemies to be able to sell their resources, and then you are also making yourself more dependent on them.
So can we envisage any possibility of a common position between the West and the African continent, or even the Russian Federation and its allies?
The point is, look, I believe, and we in Apple believe, that energy transition is essentially a dogma. It's like an ideology, it's like a religion. They have made up their mind, they want to extricate themselves from dependence on foreign energy. And no matter how you try to rationalize, they will not. Because a few things have happened. Like I said, what happened in 1973. And even after that, they've had cases with Russia. There had been a number of occasions Russia has shut down their gas supplies to Europe. So for as long as they feel that they do not control energy, they will never be comfortable.
Could this drive the world into a form of energy insecurity? Because security of energy, or energy security, is not just an American issue, it's not just a Western issue, it's universal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we are going to be the worst hit, because personally, and I believe many people who understand the industry believe that there is a lot of expectation from those who are championing energy transition, quick energy transition. The expectation is that, okay, by 2030 we should be able to reach this stage, by 2040, by 2050. They sit and do all these mathematical computations, assuming that science and technology will move as fast. But so far, science and technology have not moved as fast as their expectations. Now, the danger is that when you have those great expectations of renewables coming on stream, you are going to be discouraging investors in conventional oil and gas. And because why would I go and put my money in oil and gas if in the next 10 years all vehicles are going to be electricity driven, if fossil fuels will not be used for so many things? Nobody will invest money, especially that it's very capital intensive. Now, the danger of this is that we will get to a situation where we have not invested in the traditional energies and the expected renewables have not materialized. So the little that is there will be taken by the rich countries because it will be in the market. And that is why we believe that our governments should act quick, be able to control the technology, be able to establish, find the finance, and grow the expertise. And when we have done this, we should make it very clear that we are producing for our people first. Then the excess can go outside of our countries and our continent.
That's great. This takes us to the question of financing, because if Africa becomes finance-starved or investment-starved with respect to fossil fuels investments, we will actually get into a difficult position. But Apple, if I remember, has been taking a very important position about an African Energy Development Bank. That advocacy has been started by Apple, or supported actively by Apple. What is the position of that advice that was given by Apple?
To a large extent, we have agreed on the charter of the bank, on the establishment agreement of the bank, and we are now just waiting for our highest authorities to review it and give their approval. We anticipate that before the end of this year, we should be able to sign the takeoff of this bank. We are now looking at the location of the headquarters of the bank. 5 countries from Apple have indicated interest, including the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and this will be the next item we are going to be looking at. But we are confident that we will be able to have this bank working as soon as possible.
Doctor, we are having time constraints. We can not continue with this discussion because time is not on our side. And we hope one day when we invite you, honor our invitation and come here so that we continue from where we stopped.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.